Points of Articulation. Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the 3 Points of Articulation podcast. And this week we're talking about the Royal Rumble because it's January, which means two things. Christmas is over and we've got the Rumble to look forward to, which is always a good time. As per normal, I'm joined with Flashback Jonathan Fenton.
Hello, hello, hello.
And Adam the Wrestling Man.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
I think last time I asked Johnny how he was and didn't ask you, Adam. So how are you doing this time? Are you all good?
I'm doing cracking. I'm looking forward to being extremely tired after the Rumble.
That's good. And Johnny, how are you looking forward to your lack of sleep?
I'm actually considering staying up for the Rumble. I haven't watched a live pay-per-view since WrestleMania 35, and I didn't make it all the way through that, so I may give it a shot.
The only time I've not watched a Rumble live, I walked into school the next day as a teacher, and one of the kids, it was the very first thing out of his mouth. Oh, one. I think it was Batista that year. Never
it's
again.
The worst Rumble as well, isn't it? I think it's the only pay-per-view I stay up for. So when I book the day off, I don't need to book the day off at the moment because classic furlough. But it's the only one I actually book the day off after work for because I know full well I'm going to want to stay up for it, and I'm asleep by the kickoff normally. Lovely. Yeah, we'll be back in a second with some lovely little news. So get your news bulletins ready, boys. We'll be back. News World Order time now, and we're looking at all the news that's appeared since the last episode of the podcast, and boy, there has been some lovely news come through for us. Jono, let's fire across to you.
Indeed, a lot of news, so brace yourself, listeners. We're going to start off with AEW. So the first bit of news that we got was that we got the names announced from Wave 4. So we have Matt Hardy, Kenny Omega, Sammy Guevara, Cody Rhodes, Santana, and Ortiz. What do you think of the names mentioned, Adam?
Really looking forward to Santana and Ortiz. I've already commented on a previous podcast how badly I think that AEW are doing with them. They are still doing equally as badly with them, but I think they'll make cracking figures. Sammy Guevara, we've seen the image of Sammy Guevara, or the first image, whatever. It looks good. I don't think they can go too wrong with the face-wise, sticking his tongue out. Matt Hardy, yay or nay? I mean, we've already had loads of WWE ones of him. Kenny Omega and Cody, it's getting boring now, to be honest, how many times they're going to repeat the same people. I know they went wrong in the first place, but for me, it's all money-making.
Yeah, was it first time in the line, Cody, is it? It's, yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've actually seen a couple of leaked images, and Cody was one of them, and that the attire is from Revolution 2020, and he's wearing a T-shirt with the dog on in a gold attire. So I believe that is when he first got the neck tattoo. So it should, if it's going to be accurate, be different enough to include the neck tattoo on this figure.
That is not going to make me go out and buy it.
No. If anything, it'll make you stay indoors and judge the people that do. If anything.
I think I'm becoming a bit of a completist, so I'm probably going to get it. Speaking of the leaked images, there was a Matt Hardy, but apparently the leaked image was a 1 of 500. So there's going to be a rare Matt Hardy amongst that. I would have thought that this Matt Hardy might have included the drone as an accessory, but it didn't in that image. And Kenny Omega, a new one, I didn't believe it. I thought it should have come with a tag belt, and it didn't. So another bit of a disappointment there.
Yeah, I think also with Matt Hardy, you'd imagine that if you are going to do a rare or a chase from the series, it would be Matt Hardy because he's got 3 or 4 looks that he uses in a single match on one of them. So that'd make the most sense to have as maybe both.
Yeah, I think it's a fair choice for a variant, but yeah, maybe one does have the drone, but that would mean the mainline one has the drone and not the rare one. Which, fair enough. I'm fine with that.
I think Sammy Guevara would be a good one for a rare as well. You have a Le Sex Gods t-shirt. People can compare him with a Jericho. It'd be good. There's a lot of scope there for the series. I think people are going to be excited about the Inner Circle being one, having Santana and Ortiz and Guevara. You can reenact the Moxley moment if you're lucky enough to have a chase. So I have to wait and see on those ones. But Cody and Kenny is a thumbs down for me.
Certainly. So, in addition to the leaked Cody image from the series, we had seen another leaked it looks like an exclusive with Cody in the TNT Championship. The version is from Double or Nothing, and the belt is the one before it got completed. So I think it's a good thing they're actually going to release the unfinished belt, even though it wasn't great, but it's still part of their history. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I saw that one. I can imagine that one being a huge seller because this is what will be going through people's minds. People will be saying, right, I'm going to get that for the belt. I'm going to put the belt with my Luke Harper Brody Lee figure, and I'm going to have that on display. And then obviously they're going to release Brody Lee with it as well. So to release the Cody first means people will actually buy it for the belt, which is a moneymaker for them.
Yeah, I mean, what I was saying is that the version that's coming with Cody was the unfinished silver version without the gold plating on. So I'd imagine they're going to release this with Cody. Then the next release will probably be Brody Lee with the new updated and completed version. You would imagine.
The retired version.
Well, both retired.
But yeah, it makes sense. I think if you're going to... Obviously, you don't want to have two releases of the same belt, do you? Otherwise, you get 15 European titles like I've got lying about. So I think it makes sense to have an unfinished one, then having the finished one, especially if you're going to capture that moment, which apparently was a big one, which might have passed me as a big moment in AEW, but it's good enough, wasn't it? Mike Tyson was there, sleeping.
Yeah, it's a big enough moment. Sometimes I'm quite pleased where sometimes something doesn't go quite right and they get it represented in a figure form. So I'm happy to see the first version released and then the normal versions. So next up, we have also seen that AEW are going to release a second line and it's called Unmatched. This is going to mean that AEW will be releasing a wave of figures every month. Now, I'm not quite sure what the Unmatched is going to be. Is it going to be different? Is it going to be lesser? Is it going to be more? What do you guys speculate?
So apparently it's going to be exactly the same style. I assume that means like the elite, the body type styles. It's not 100% guaranteed yet, but apparently it's pretty much there. That you were talking about being a completist earlier. That news makes me now not a completist on the AEW figures because there's no way I can afford that. Yeah, I like it. I can see why they're doing it in case the company doesn't last and things like that. They can cash in while they can. Are we going to see a Cody released in every single set? Who knows?
Yes, we are. I think, it doesn't make any sense to have at this stage to have two separate lines, should we say? I know like Jax did it when they had like the BCA set, and they also had like Survivor Series. They had SummerSlam sets, and Mattel do it as well now, where they'll call a set something different. So you'd have the normal elite line as well as the Mania elites. They're allowed to do that because they've been in the business for so long. If you're Jazzwares and AEW, it's just very strange to introduce it after Wave 3. So peculiar for me.
I think it actually does make perfect sense to release more lines early because then you're going to build up your roster much more quickly. You'd hope to get some different names in the Unmatched series, so names that haven't been released. Maybe the Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy we've seen maybe leaked was part of that. I believe Sting's been mentioned in the Unmatched series as well as like spotted on a glitch on Target as well. So
yeah, it was on Amazon, I think, that it came up as being released in July or something.
So they're not really keeping the cards close to the chest, or at least they're not containing the leaks as good as say Mattel do.
Is it on purpose?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I don't think so because I quite frequently go on the Wrestling Figs forums, and any sort of pictures released like that have been banned from the site. And I think even maybe Jeremy is commenting saying please don't post these sort of things in this group. And so the admins and moderators remove them if they are ever posted. So it is quite touchy subject for them. So I don't think it's on purpose.
Maybe. Crafty.
So yes, I think we're done with the AEW line. Should we move on to someone else's bit of news?
Yeah, I'll take one. Sideshow Collectibles up for pre-order have got a $650 Undertaker statue. It's one of those with the massive base, and then it's like a 26-inch figure, apparently. There's two different heads, which they are calling portraits for some strange reason in this one. It's to represent the SummerSlam 94 Undertaker, where he faced the fake Undertaker. It looks all right. There's one head with a hat, one head without a hat. That's the difference. The face isn't smashing, to be honest. I'll let you have a look for yourself. It's 1:4 scale, this one, but $650. I'm not sure they're going to get massive demand for that one.
Yeah, sprung this one on us this morning, so I'm not quite sure what I haven't seen this. But you're saying if the face isn't good and it's $650, that doesn't sound good. They should be nailing every little detail with that $650 price point.
Yeah, if you're not very good at faces, definitely draw a mask on someone would be the way I'd go. But yeah, I've seen a couple. I've seen The Rock, I believe. Is it the same line?
I'm not sure.
I've seen like someone posted one on one of the Facebook groups where it had like a full garage full of them. So they had a HBK, a Rock, a Roddy Piper, Bret Hart, and a couple of others. Scale wise, they look like they're 1:6, so I assume they're probably in the same line. But yeah, I think statues wise, I know you've got the HBK statue, haven't you, from Mania 12, which is a decent size for a statue. You can display that. I think if it's 1:6, I don't know, is that too big? If someone's 6'10" in real life, I think for me it'd be too big because I've only got a small flat. But yeah, that's my opinion on statues.
I'm trying to picture 26 inches in this size. Adam, can you maybe try and represent that?
Excuse me.
Not
on camera, please, Adam.
Yeah.
I've got no idea.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it must
it's
be quite big, but late scale rings 22 and it's about that big, so maybe talking something like that.
Very big.
That's huge, yeah. Interesting. Jamie, shall we move on to your bit?
Yeah, let's go move on to the world of Funkos. We don't really talk about Funkos that much on this podcast, but we've had some reveals, so we can discuss them on here. So first of all, we've had the single figures released. So we've got China, Edge from the Rumble return, Otis with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Do you remember he had that earlier last year? Do you remember that? Not everyone else since we've forgotten it. You've got Drew McIntyre and Stone Cold Steve Austin. So, and the Austin comes with a chase, I think, or an exclusive where he's got two belts, a tag belt and the world belt from 2001. You've also got Austin and The Rock in a 2-pack from before Mania 19, by looks of what The Rock's wearing, and he's got the shaved head. And you also get a little Raw ring with it, which is quite nice. So that's the first reveal we had. Guys, your thoughts on Funkos wise isn't really your bag, but
it's a decent series for Funko. Everyone always loves Austin and The Rock, don't they? You've got your debut of China in it. Eddie Guerrero, did you say?
No. I haven't said Eddie.
I've seen some Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie's a Walmart. He's coming up in a second.
Yeah, so Funko is definitely not my thing. I have seen the images though, and it's probably a decent set in terms of names to release. I did say the Austin. I kind of thought it was with the smoking skull and the tag belt, and that would be representing more of a 98. I guess he won the tag titles with Undertaker.
Dude Love?
I think it was Undertaker in 98, and yeah, that probably represents that era rather than 2001 with Trips.
Well, it goes to show just how little detail they had on the belts, because I looked and looked and couldn't see much of a difference. So she was a tag and a world, and then what was they called? The 2-man power strip is what I went to. What I assumed it was from the two.
Yeah, it's more of a 98, but you're right. They should have had more detail on the belts because they just look like it could be anything from distance.
So like Mattel basic belts from 2014 that they did, just brand new. Yeah. As Adam lied, cheated, and stole some news from me, Eddie Guerrero, WrestleMania 20, that comes with the WWE title that he defended against Kurt Angle, and also a WrestleMania 20 pin. The second pin we've seen from Funko, the first one being the Flair from the Rumble 92. Guys, your views on pins? Because I know we're very, very about pins, but they also have a bit of a market at the moment.
Another thing that's just not for me.
No, nothing.
Jinx.
No, well, in that case, I'll briefly discuss the 4-pin set, not the Finn Balor set. The 4-pin set that you get a Hot Rod, you get a Rock, Brahma Bull, Mankind, and the Stone Cold. Just their little logos you get on there. You also get a Rock and a Mankind 2-pack from Walmart that's coming out from the Rumble 99, because the Rock's wearing his black and his tracky bottoms. You get a Rock and Socko t-shirt, which looks lovely in a little box, and you get the WrestleMania 17 lunchbox, which will be the same as the Hogan and the Andre one from earlier this year, which we didn't see over here for less than 30-40 quid.
You have seen it on my reveals, though.
We have seen it in your reveals.
Yeah, if I'm going to say one positive, the lunchboxes are pretty cool.
Yeah, the problem is you buy that, you probably haven't got any money to put your lunch in it. It's expensive.
Adam's grabbing his now.
There he is. You got your lunch in there, have you? Or?
No, unused, untouched.
Smashing.
That's a good lunchbox. I've got a money in the bank lunchbox, which I used to bring into work. Threatened to cash it in a few times. Lovely. So, yeah, and more news. That's all me for the Funko news.
Right, so we're going to move on. We are getting a new poll, and this is for the Ultimate Fan Central, and it's Hulk Hogan. So your options are WrestleMania 9 v Money Inc., Nitro debut, which was actually against Big Bubba or Big Bossman, as you might know him, or Uncensored 1996, which was a Tower of Doom match where he teamed with Macho Man and took on about 12 other people.
And won.
What are you voting for, Adam?
I've actually gone for the uncensored one. That does not mean I think it's the best Hogan attire out of them. It just means that I think it's the most different to anything that we've seen.
Jamie?
I went Mania 9 only because of was he teaming with Beefcake? Mania 9?
That's right. Yeah.
I've got the Beefcake, so
yeah, it's a good shout there about completing the tag team with Beefcake. I was so torn on this. I could take either one of them. It's not like the Ultimate Warrior where I didn't really want the WrestleMania 6. This is like I could live with either one of them, and for different reasons. And to be honest, I reckon whichever ones don't get made here are going to get made in the Elite line at some point anyway. So it's a good thing, I think, either way.
I think the Nitro one, that's very similar to the attire he used when he turned for the NWO, isn't it? It's similar?
No. You probably think of the uncensored one because he has the red pants and the shirt uncensored. Which the Nitro one's, the traditional yellow trunks, has a yellow wristband and a shirt, and will come with the title as well, I guess.
My favourite Hogan. That's how I picture Hogan, is in the yellow trunks. That's always the one I'm going to lean towards. But I think if from the Ultimate Edition just released, the NWO one, fans are going to want to recreate that moment with their fig photography or whatnot. So I think that could be a popular choice. But we have to wait and see on those.
Which moment?
The bit where he turned on Macho and joined the NWO.
Right. Yeah, I suppose, but still not exactly the same figure from Bash at the Beach, but.
No, it's closer than the final moments one.
Close. You can mix and match. Yeah, mix and match parts that you've already got, like the other WrestleMania 9 one where he won against Yokozuna. It's quite similar.
You've got to see the one where he turned coming out in a set, because obviously the opposition came out in a set. So you've got to see that with Nash and Hall, I think.
Well, that would be lovely, definitely.
It'd be good if they like blacked out Hogan as like the third man. You didn't see him in the box.
Like a lift up flap or something.
Yeah, and he's just dropping a leg
Quite
drop.
a good idea.
I'll pitch it to him.
Yeah, do it. If
I
you
actually
want
like it. Sorry to go all Abe Simpson again, but I used to quite like it on the old WCW sets when you'd get like a 2-pack and then it'd have free figure and have Sting on there, and it's like, well, it's not, because you get with every one of them. It's just a 3-pack, isn't it? As a side note.
I think if you do have suggestions like that, the best place to go and put this is, well, I suppose Twitter to Steve from Mattel, but there's also a thread in the Wrestling Figs forum where you do a Q&A now and again. So if you ever got any suggestions, pop them in there. He usually gets back to you with a bit of an answer, or say we've noted it down.
Oh, so I'll check it out. Thanks for the tip / plug for them.
Yeah, we'll put a little link in the video. Right, next up, Adam.
Yeah, my last one is the only one we've not mentioned so far, from Boss Fight Studios, that they've got up for pre-order. They're responsible for the Lucha type figures that we've seen, and it's a mini mask display. They look kind of figure size. You get a set of 18, so there's 6 actual people: Phoenix, Penta, Tenebris, Conan, Super Astro, and Solar. You get 2 of the regular masks of each person, and then 1 of the rare masks of each person. So they kind of go in with the kind of, you're going to get these rare ones. It's $220 for the full set of 18. I've already seen websites selling them individually for about $13 each, in a kind of which mask will you get mystery kind of way. So in other words, you're going to get the ones that most people haven't heard of, and then they're going to sell the other ones for more expensive. $220 for a set of mini figure masks seems very excessive to me.
Yeah, I say you mentioned these quite a lot, this figure line, but I've never seen it up for sale, or I've rarely seen it on eBay. I haven't really seen them come up at all.
The Phoenix and the Penta are already sold out. They also do a line of accessories, which I think are sold out as well. But the rest of them, they're not sold out, and they've been up for quite a while now, so I don't think they're going too well.
They're the sort of companies, this one, that benefit from like the Comic-Cons and the shows and so on, because people used to, in America, go around and they'd see it live and be like, what's this? And then a bit of a buzz then, but obviously they haven't got it this year, so.
I do have a question, because I don't really understand the concept, and I've never seen them. So, like, you say the masks, are these masks that will fit on your figure's head, or is it a whole head that you could pop on your figure?
There's no description on them to indicate as such. The actual pictures look just like a figurehead. So it's nothing that you can take off or anything like that. But it doesn't say that to go on top of like the figures or anything like that. So I'll have to look further into that one.
I do think they're fairly pointless if you can't put them on existing figures, though.
I think it's more for a display that they're meant for.
Yeah, in my head, it was, remember they had the Star Wars ones a few years ago that used to come with like a magazine that used to be in a little box. You see them at car boot sales. Those that's what I pictured it as. It was in a box about this big, and it was a clear box, and they had a little mask in the middle of it. That's in my head what it'd come out like. So to wait and see.
I'll look further.
Yeah, was C-3PO part of this set as well, or did I hear you say that?
This isn't a Star Wars podcast, Jamie. Let's move on to your bit of news.
Well, I haven't got any, so we only had the Funko release ones. So we're back to you, actually, Mr. Skywalker. You
start talking about Star Wars to hide the fact that you haven't done your research. Right, so yes, we have seen more releases from Mattel, and we'll first go to Elite 84. We've seen the full pictures of Murphy, Rhea Ripley, Roman Reigns, Jeff Hardy ×2, Sheamus and Adrian Garza, and Zelina is getting released. We've seen them, Adam.
I have. Very happy that Zelina's getting released. Now, there's a lot of people that collect like solely women figures, and she looks cracking from the look of that one. I have a feeling she'll be back once they've resolved their little issues with her and her other ventures. She'll be back, probably managing Aleister Black and Andrade in a tag team. There's my prediction for you. It's not a spoiler, just a prediction. But yeah, that one looks cracking. Angel Garza comes with the trousers. Are they removable? Do we know? They look
Yes.
it.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So yeah, they're the two
so
highlights.
I think it's a bit of a. It's not for me as a series because there's no flashbacks, but Angel Garza is probably going to be the one that people want. However, it does look a little dodgy, and I think it's because either the neck's too long or the head's too big or something like that. Something's a little bit off. But in other angles, he looks brilliant. So it's hard to tell.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say about Murphy. It's a really disappointing Murphy figure. They've taken all the really good aspects about his attire from the first one off it, kept the head exactly the same, and the head wasn't good in the first place. And all they've done is put a Disciple T-shirt with it. I think it's really disappointing.
Ooh.
Lacking soft goods as well in the series. I think the first thing when you sent it to me, Johnny, I think the Jeff Hardy one was one that stands out. I know we've had umpteen Jeff Hardy figures, which sounds like a big number, but it's in the teens. But yeah, this one, the colours really pop on the Jeff Hardy one, I find, and the detail on it's really good. Once again, no soft goods, I think, might have spoiled it, but as a series, couldn't really ask for sort of better looking figures, apart from the Murphy one, which, as you said, the colours don't pop on the Murphy.
No. Did I see a thing with the Jeff Hardy that only one of them has his back tattoo?
I thought they both did, but maybe you did.
I saw an image of the two back to back, and one had a back tattoo, one didn't, and people were questioning it.
Oh, has he recently had that done then?
Not 100%.
Well, the one that I saw, one of them had a full back tattoo, and I think the only one I only saw one half of one which had the back tattoos. Maybe the other side of it hadn't. But
oh well, maybe that's actually quite a good thing because it might represent the pay-per-view before he got the back tattoo, and then the pay-per-view after he got it, or something like that. So if that's the case, then they've done well with that. Yes. So yes, let's move on. Let's move on to the releases of Legend Series 10. You gave us a prediction in the last one about Zelina, Adam. This time you predicted correctly. We are getting a new Vader. So we'll start with that one. This one is from the Great American Bash 1990. I've done my research. It's against Tom Zenk. Comes with two heads. So one's fully masked because you can't remove it, and one comes with his unmasked head with a spare mask as well.
I am in love. This figure looks absolutely amazing. If I could picture a figure of Vader, that is the picture that I would go for. Immense. I will 100% be getting that.
I've got to admit, I don't feel it's the iconic Vader, but I'm pleased to get it, and I'm pleased it went down a different route of an earlier version, because we have seen the mid-90s, maybe early 90s, and this is his debut essentially in America. So great choice.
I don't think we want to see a late 90s Vader, do we? But yeah, I think I know early 90s WCW is not really my bag, but I think you can appreciate a good figure from looking at it, and it's got everything that you could want, doesn't it? So
Sure.
Thumbs up from me.
Yeah, we questioned where it could go, and they've gone exactly right.
Yeah, they did well. Speaking of question where they could go, if you were going to get a John Cena in the Legends line, what would you pick? Would you pick WrestleMania 36? I suppose this is a bit of a mashup. You can use it as a WrestleMania 36 or just another one of those generic 2002 run where he was wearing the colours of the local teams. It is what it is, and I just don't think it should have been in this line.
Yeah, very disappointing.
I think they'll short pack Cena out of the whole set. The puppet's going to be what everyone's after. He comes with a little, is it Mick Boss Man? Is it called? Puppet, Vince McMahon puppet. I think that's going to be what people are buying the figure for, is to sell that with the Firefly.
Did that one come with the Bray Wyatt or not?
No, it's the only one that didn't.
Right.
It come with Yeah, is it Mercy the Buzzard? Yeah, exactly. So they've popped it in the box, then why not pop it on there? It's going to be a big seller, but it's also going to be short packed. So interesting that it's done on that route.
I think it's a fair figure array, so it's just in the wrong line. Never mind. So next up we have DDP. This is a 2002 version. It's a motivational speaker, I guess, be positive, and it comes with a little earpiece behind here, which, although they think this is Mattel speaking as well, the guy from Mattel, he thinks that it is removable. So only thinks, because he hasn't got the final product in hand. But yeah, if that's not removable, it's going to be a bit disappointing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see this one. I'm a big fan of the Jax R3 Tech version of this one. I think that was a really good figure as well. It isn't my favourite DDP by any stretch of the imagination. I did like his little run with Christian, but other than that, no real memories of this one. I might get it, I might not, but it'd be on the secondary market if I did.
You can do a good Simon Dean custom with that if it's removable, couldn't you?
Well, already got one.
Oh, have you got a little headpiece for it?
No.
No.
I suppose, this figure is not just the 2002, because Page started using this sort of wrestling attire from 2000, I believe, in WCW, so it does stretch about it. Well, actually, I mean, he did little spots here and there and even wore this attire, so it's basically his 2000s attire, isn't it? 2000 to 2010, whatever. So it's a fair release. Should be it is the most logical version to go next.
Good box positioning as well with the arms up.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think.
So
just another point. I was just going to say about the mouthpiece. It's got to be removable, in my opinion. I think you don't want him looking like Madonna or like he works at McDonald's. So
no, yes,
McDonough, as you could call.
Yeah, we'll skim past that joke, Jamie. And we'll go to Brutus Beefcake, and this is an early version. It is I believe the yellow is the normal version, and the blue is a chase. The yellow version was represented both at WrestleMania 2 and WrestleMania 3. So it comes with a lovely tag title as well, silver one, which I don't own yet.
Me neither. The blue one's better, in my opinion, as just a look of a figure. I think the yellow one is far too in your face, and it just all goes together, and you kind of don't even see the figure, you just see the outfit. Whereas I think the blue one you can appreciate more as a whole figure.
Yeah, of course, in the box they both look the same, which is a bit strange because you can't see the trunks, the tights in the box, so you couldn't, if as a MOC collector, you're not going to know the difference between the normal and the chase unless you get really close up. Scary.
I don't mind that, if I'm honest. I think I'd sort of like a surprise reveal when you get home, isn't it? You get home thinking you've got.
Tell. I think you probably can tell if you put it close up, but you're not going to tell from a distance if you have it on display. So it's not going to look much different. But yeah, I'd love to get hold of these. Hopefully I can get them at a decent price because you know how it is. Only released in America, and eBay is probably your best bet.
Yeah, it'll be perfect for me. Perfect for me for a dream team, tag team.
I think that's the sort of thing, though, where you're hoping for a good, complete set, because then you can just pick up the full set from overseas rather than just picking up one or the two at expensive prices over here.
Indeed. Anything else to add on the Legends?
No, I think we're all good for Legends.
I think we're all out of news then.
Oh, lovely stuff. Well, we'll end on Beefcake, which is always good. Is that the figure you said would look good with a Valentine? Is that the one that?
Yeah, that's right.
Before. So yeah, I mean, it would fit into my collection in that case then. So I'll see if I could spare 35 quid, which ultimately is probably going to cost for the normal one. Lovely. So we'll be back in due course.
Oh, some lovely pick-me-ups.
Pick-me-ups time now, and we'll be looking at our recent purchases from the last episode of the podcast, and we'll fire straight over to the Sleeveless Wonder. That's you, Jonathan.
Will that be me or Adam?
Yes, you is, yeah. He's got sleeves.
For anyone not watching, yes, I don't have sleeves today. But yes, so this reveal, pick me up is probably what every person in the country picked up, and it's the British Bulldog Elite 82. So, and Adam's got it right there as well, and Jamie missed his delivery. Is that right?
Cheers, DPD. Yeah. They text me to say we're on our way. We'll be there between 10 to 12 and half 12, whatever it was. Don't worry, we'll leave it in a safe place if you're not in. And I get a message saying, sorry, the porch that you have that's massive and completely safe is not good enough for us. So we've gone away with your package to your Monday, mate. So cheers for that.
Okay, Grandpa, no worries. Adam, thoughts on it in hand?
Yeah, I was really excited about this one. I think the long wait kind of quashed my excitement a little bit more. Sometimes it works one way, sometimes it works the other. It's a lovely figure. Face wise, I'm happy because I seem to get a good one. I have seen some horrendously bad mistakes on Facebook and eBay. But the Matilda's nice. The leash is done well in the way that the figure can hold it when it's out of the packet. Ooh, an unboxing going on in front of our eyes.
Yeah,
good.
I am currently taking it out of the package to have a look. Oh, I tell you what I really dislike about these new Matildas is that they're stuck in here with some sort of pin and you can't get it out. You have to kind of rip it. So, there we go. Bulldog's out. There we go. That new figure kind of feel to it. It's quite basic in terms of what the deco is, isn't it? It's not really anything mind-blowing.
Yeah, I do think it represents the time well because they did have quite a few basic attires. I would have preferred more of a kind of Mustache Mountain took it off, a Blackpool takeover a bit ago. I would have preferred more of that attire. But, you know, it is what it is, and I can make or buy a Dynamite Kid custom as well to go with it, which is really good.
Which one are you talking about? What colour scheme did it have?
I'm trying to think. I think it was a red type one. Yeah.
I think I would prefer the red or blue as well. See the doggy. First, well, actually, it's not even the first dog accessory from Mattel because we got one with Del Rio, I believe.
Yeah, we did. Pepe.
Doesn't really look like a boxer if I'm honest. But yeah, so you're right. I would love to get hold of a Dynamite Kid head painted because I can't paint them myself. So I do have another one of these. So hopefully if I can get the Dynamite, I'll pick up. Must pop the head on. I don't think it's going to look too out of place body wise. Around about the same. So quite happy with that.
I think it'll probably need different arms because his arms were nowhere near as big as Bulldog's.
Were they not?
I don't think so. I think he was a lot more lean than Bulldog. Bulldog had a bit of chunk to him.
So did Dynamite. I mean, it was on the roids and that, wasn't he?
I think that he was something similar to this in the 91 Rumble on top of it. But,
yeah, that's true. It pretty much was the same attire almost. It just had the braided hair. So if you really want, you could pick up another Bulldog, pop the hair on, and then you got a pretty accurate 1991 Royal Rumble attire as well.
I do have to say a big up to Smiths on this one because obviously they had the delay, which wasn't their fault at all. It's from the suppliers, and they have given everyone who's bought it a £10 voucher to use on any of their other products, which is absolutely fantastic from Smiths. So thank you. But will that put Smiths off getting future lines like this, which is the real downside to that?
Oh, don't dampen it.
I hope not, because I think they just give themselves an unrealistic release date for it. I don't know why it was. I think it was originally released before, supposed to be released before Christmas, I believe.
Yeah, so. It was November, the original one.
November, yeah, that was never going to happen. I don't even think it released in Ringside before that. So, yeah, I just need to do the research a bit more about when things are coming out, I would think.
But yeah, I appreciate the £10 voucher. I think I picked up a Warrior Rumble for it, which also isn't here. But yeah, certainly worth picking up from my point of view. Appreciate it, Smiths. if you're listening.
Yep. I think I'll pick up the 83 Dusty Road when it comes out.
Good figure. Next, I picked up some boxed figures this week, some BCAs and some Titantron figures. I left the box in the front room whilst I went to the toilet, and I come back and my 1-year-old had opened 2 of them, which were already sort of off the card, so I can't judge him for that. But yeah, I picked up a Gold Dust BCA with the lovely door there. Cracking figure. I remember having this as a child with a dressing gown on. Lovely figure. Got an Austin BCA as well, which is a simple figure, but I quite liked it. I got a Mike Awesome Toy Biz to go with my Toy Biz figures, and a Rikishi Titantron, and a Triple H Titantron, which comes with a lovely little beret to pop on top of our Hunter, which went quite a good Nation of Domination custom for the beret, to be honest. They're relatively easy to get hold of, so.
Yeah, I've had a few of those accessories in my time, selling them on. Still not a fan of the BCAs, but maybe they're a bit better when they're fresh out of packet, because every time I seem to get a BCA and they are filthy, up to the 9s in it.
Well, I think Goldust is clean as a whistle. So yeah, it must just be the ones that because they mark quite easily. I remember when I was a kid, I used to play with them. The back would get marked, have black marks everywhere. So they are easy to mark, but I'm not using them, not getting them to play with. I'm getting them to display hopefully in the future, because it's sort of my Hasbro, should we say.
Decent little selection. That the Gold Dust figure is kind of ahead of its time. It's much better than most of the other BCAs, as was the character, and a good pickup in the Mike Awesome there. It's quite sought after, that figure. I'm assuming for the head.
It was a $5, which is all of them were a $5.
Very good.
Which is good. Boxed as well, so I unboxed him, which is
probably
nice.
A mistake there.
Less than what I'm selling it for.
Yeah, but yeah, it's good figure. I think I don't want to have one boxed and the rest unboxed, so I've taken them out. But I think it was coming off the card, so I can be forgiven for that.
Dude.
Right, up to me. Just picked up another set for my tag team one. I'm trying to get like a tag team every 2 or 3 weeks, so I can completely gut the display behind me and get them all in at once. Quite prevalent tag team at the moment. I do not want the Super Sevens that are coming out of them, so it is the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson. Didn't get the T-shirt with Anderson, but to be honest, I didn't want it. I want to display Anderson without the T-shirt because I think it looks better with Gallows with all the attire on. Very good figures, these ones. Really good head scans on these.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Them, as far as I say this every week almost. Current figure's not my thing, but you can see when a figure's good, especially when you compare them to what the Super Sevens are going to be. Mattel did them justice, at least while they were in under contract.
I think with those figures, the reason they're not as sought after or as expensive as they should be is because Entertainer had them, didn't they, for on the buy one get one free.
Yeah, but before that, they were quite expensive. I remember, when they first come out, they were highly sought after, and one of those figures where you could buy them and shop and then scalp them, make a profit on eBay.
Never do that. But yeah, I think that in Entertainer, when they put the little deals on, as lovely as they are, it does devalue certain figures, which is annoying.
Yeah, maybe. Although,
but they are good.
I've got to say it. Gallows and Anderson, for me, are just so blah. I don't like them. I just feel they're so bland. Not for me at all.
Do you prefer them as Festus?
I just don't. I think they're maybe quite decent guys outside the ring, but I just don't like the whole shtick. I'm not saying they were bad in ring. I just, the whole, Wolfpack. Yeah, it is the Wolfpack thing that they're trying to copy off, and just seems a bit 1990s, a bit, Generation X.
I completely understand what you mean. That they are quite stale to watch as well. I saw Gallows in Japan when I went over to Japan, and he was against a guy called Bad Luck Fail. And honestly, it was probably the worst match I've ever seen live or on TV. It was such a clumsy big man. Let's just hit each other, but really slowly, which I think Gallows suffers from sometimes, is lack of speed.
There we all.
Still nice figures though. Let's move on. This is a figure I said I wasn't going to pick up, but then I seen it for quite cheap on eBay, and it was just the price of a normal Elite. So I picked up the Decade of Domination John Cena in his green top. Came with all the accessories, the extra hands and things like that. So for 23 quid, I couldn't complain, and happy to add that to my Cena collection. Not sure which year it represents, but I know it's a flashback.
Well, it'll be like a 2005, 2006 Cena. Looking at the hat. Oh no, that'll be 2003 Cena. That's the only time he wore the bucket hat.
Slightly earlier, yeah.
I thought he wore that hat with the white attire that he had. I might be completely wrong there, and he might have worn it with future attires, but I thought it was when he was in all white.
Yeah, it could be one of those Makina mashups
every week. Yeah, he changed his sort of jersey every week, didn't he? As Johnny said earlier, whatever town he was in, he used to wear a different jersey for, but the bucket hat normally remained the same.
You need a nice B squared custom to go with it.
I don't think so. Can certainly live without that. Next up.
Is it me? Yeah, over to me. Well, as you guys know, we do a lovely segment on this show called a retro review, which we review the series of the Mattel retros. So it's only fair that I pick up some. I've got some of the season 9 and 10, which I unboxed in a video on YouTube series. So I also picked up some that were missing from the earlier series. So I got a Nakamura off eBay. So I needed him. Relatively decent price. It cost me a tenner. So I'm going to pick up a Shinsuke. I got speaking of, a John without a bucket hat, just with his ordinary green. I got a Triple H. Believe it or not, I didn't have a Triple H on there. A Sting and a Warrior. The Crow Sting, not the red one. So just to sort of fill gaps that I was missing really for some cheapo ones. I got a little bundle, and then I think I also had Styles, Rollins, and Ambrose, which I already had, so gave them to the child, and it keeps them away from the expensive ones.
Are you going the completest route on these?
I am. Yeah. It will be the first set that I've fully completed, so I'm even going to get the repaints.
What are you going to do when you get to the likes of Ric Flair and Roman Reigns? They're very pricey.
I'm going to hide my bank statements from my wife, Jonathan. That's what I'm going to do.
And hiding the raffles from us.
Hiding the raffles from you, of course. Yeah, I've got to hide from my wife and hide from you. Two things I've got to hide from. But yeah, I think the Flair and the Reigns, they're the pricier ones, aren't they? Next is probably JYD and Diesel, so relatively early.
You not have those ones yet?
No.
JYD and Diesel?
No. So I didn't have those yet, but I picked those up in Legion of Hasbro raffle.
So you do have them?
Oh, I've got them. Sorry, no, I thought you said, did you not have them? No, I got them on this week's pick-me-ups. The ones that I unboxed was in the Series 10.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, which once again I may regret. Have you not watched it? Oh, it's very good. You get to see my face unboxing figures. But
I'm such a fan of our face YouTube page.
Yeah, so I think all in all, but probably I'd say one of my favourite lines that I've seen. But we're reviewing it anyway, so I won't go into too much deets on it.
Yeah.
So back to me. I'm not a massive fan of Funko Pops, but these fit in with both my tag team display and my $1 Million Man display. Picked up these a couple of weeks ago, maybe a tad more. I've just not shown them. Money Incorporated. For me, a pop works if it's really full of features, and these two are features for me. You've got the glasses on IRS, the obvious suit attire. $1 Million Man's got his money. He's got the $1 Million Championship. Is there anything else in the briefcase for IRS? There's a little silver briefcase. It's an exclusive. I don't do pops, so I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's pricey or not, but it will fit well in my tag team and $1 Million Man.
Do my eyes deceive me? Is that a Funko Pop that has good detail, actually looks like the people they're supposed to represent? Yes, I'm quite impressed with those two.
Is that Noel Evans?
Could be.
The ties are nice.
The ties are nice. So Funko Pops wise, but I went for a stage a few years ago where I'd buy the missus one because I had no other presents to get her, so I'd pick her some up. But yeah, I think all in all, you do get some that are really, really good, and you get some that are ridiculously basic. So I think it's good when you get some accessories, you get a bit of detail on there. They've taken a bit of time with that one, which they tend to more with the exclusives.
Pick that up from Scott Crouch, who I know watches this regularly, so thank you, Scott.
Crouch, you.
Right. Next is it back to me?
Back to you,
Yep.
I believe, yeah.
Yes, so this is the final one of the week. I did pre-order and I did get the Andre the Giant Celebration WrestleMania figure. So actually going to take this one out of the box as well to have a look.
Oh,
Because I don't really, yeah.
how exciting.
Don't
2
know
in
what
1.
I pretty much bought this for the car, so it's the only thing I was interested in. Although it is I think it's a different giant face. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah. Slightly different.
Oh, it's stuck in again.
So this will be interesting because we had that discussion the other week about whether these carts would fall apart. So it'll be interesting when we get this out.
I haven't seen the Macho Man appear as much as I have Andre. I don't know whether he's
I've seen quite a
delayed.
few on Facebook.
Yeah,
I think
not
they're
as
both
much.
available. They're both available from Smith's, at least, and they were available everywhere else, Big Pop Shop amongst others. And it's just on the Entertainer that they had Andre, but not Macho Man, available at least. I think that we're getting Macho Man at a later stage. Sometimes I regret doing this one.
Which Mania is this one from?
Oh, and there's the phone gone.
Is this Mania 3, Andre?
Yeah. So there's the first as well. Just smashed me phone while filming.
Exclusives here on the 3 Points of Articulation podcast. Not only do you get a full podcast, you get an unboxing, you get a smashed phone as well.
Right, if anyone gets this figure and are going to do an unboxing, take the whole thing apart first because this is insane.
Shall I crack on with my next one whilst you're faffing around with that? Right, so Stuart Tobias put a post up and said, I've had some... Basically, he makes referee shirts. So he said, I've had some misprints. Who wants them? Or some misprints, as someone pointed out, because it's an upside-down WWE logo, which is always good. But I enjoy a good kooky shirt, so the wrestling shirt is always good. Luckily enough, the guy, Stuart's cousin, doesn't live too far from here, so he messaged me and was like, he can drop it off to you. He dropped it off. The day after, I picked up a double XL, which is too big, and an XL, which is too small. So good in the middle. But apparently his cousin said, he looked at me and thought, that guy is never fitting into a large, which is always good. So yeah, it's a nice t-shirt to have. It's nice and kooky. Yeah, I'll wear it around the house, wear it to bed, and I can officiate some matches. So that's always a good one to pick up as a nice little fun shirt.
That's good. How are we doing, Jono?
I've just managed to finish unboxing it. What an absolute clot one that was. So yes, Andre figure, pretty standard. Got a bit of a mark on the back. Not happy about that because I think it is actually a skin painted on, which is not good. So that's damaged. The ring card itself is already falling apart. I'll try and put that back. And it's not. I think the post is turned the wrong way. It's should be pointing towards the center where they're actually just pointing towards each other.
Yeah.
Wheels on it, at least. That's good.
There's wheels on it, you say?
There is. I think it should be a bit bigger though, because I think you could get like two or three people into the real ones, where you're not going to get more than one really.
I was trying to consider it for a tag team, and I was going to ask if it was big enough.
Demolition.
Well, let's have a look and see him put Bulldog and Cena inside. Be a tight squeeze, but you can do it. There you go. There's two figures inside.
Just about works, doesn't it?
Yeah, you could put a tag team in there, no problem. But no more than that. Anyway, I am happy to pick it up. You could use that quite well for the figure photography. But I think the best left as MOC, and that's unlike me to say that, because they do look really great in the packaging.
The cart's fun. I think it's nice to have a cart. As poorly made as it sounds, so it's good to have a cart.
Just not worth the effort.
I'll pick up the carts on the secondary market, probably about a year.
I think they're going to be quite expensive, especially if they don't make any more next year.
Definitely. Well, I'm all out of purchases this week, so Adam, have you?
Yeah, just got one more. Got to give John all the credit for this for spotting it on eBay and letting me know about it, which is the mini belts, the Raw Women's and the SmackDown Women's mini belts. The Raw Women's is signed by Bailey as well. There's no certificate of authenticity or anything like that, but it was at a meet and greet type toy shop thing where she signed it. Really nice to have. I've already actually got a Raw one, but now I can sell that and just keep the signed one. It'll go into my collection.
Cracking deal, that. I'm pleased they're pointing in the right direction and that you were available to see it at the time.
50 quid, I think, for both belts. Amazing.
Right now, it's a good deal. Especially one of them being signed as well, so it was a bonus.
Yes. How are you displaying the mini belts then?
I've still not decided. We had this chat about 5 pods ago.
Yep.
I still haven't got them out my drawer. They're just sat in my drawer at the moment. So I'm really going to have a think, especially now because the main ones, like those ones, won't fit in with my tag display or anything. So once I get the clutter cleared off the top of there, maybe I'll get some kind of belt display at the top.
Lovely stuff.
Let's hope you don't add a fantasy wrestling league one to that this season. Yeah, there we are. Lovely. Jono, got any more for us? Any more pick-me-ups?
No, a bit of a slow week for me, but next one's going to be very busy.
Yeah, same. I said I had three things that should have arrived that haven't arrived, but they will be arrived by next time. So let's wait and see. But next up, we've got our weekly talking point, which is on the 1991 Rumble, which we'll come back to. Break it down time now, and this time we're looking at the Royal Rumble, which is apt for this time of year. This time of year being January, of course. We are looking 30 years ago, the 1991 Royal Rumble. With it being 2021, it made perfect sense to look into this one. For me, it's a cornerstone of my childhood. But for you chaps, Jono, what's your earliest memory of the 91 Rumble?
This is actually the first Royal Rumble that I can remember. I believe the Survivor Series 90 was probably the first pay-per-view I've seen. Although things like that get quite lost on me because I watched them all on videotape after the fact. So I don't know whether I've seen Royal Rumble before Survivor Series or vice versa. But yeah, it's around the time where I first got into it. And so that sort of memory for me was always there. I remember it always come down to the Hogan and Earthquake. But other than that, I couldn't tell you much about it until I watched it again last night.
Yeah, same as. This is from when I properly started getting into wrestling. I'd picked up bits and bats from Kai Boots and stuff before this, but this was when I went full in.
So I think, obviously, just to clarify as well for everyone, we're concentrating on the Royal Rumble match, not the full card just the match itself, which is what brings us to the dance. If we're honest, even though the undercard was very eventful, should we say, especially at the times, the match is what we're concentrating on. For me, this is one of the ones that they had at Blockbuster. Remember, I said to you guys before that we used to rent on a Friday night, go to Blockbuster, pick up the VHS for £1 for the week. This is one of the ones they had. They had Rumble 90 and this one as well. So I remember watching this as a child quite a lot. So it's a big part of my childhood. So we start off with the match. We got Bret Hart, Dino Bravo. I know you're a fan of Dino Bravo. You want a figure of him. Number 1 and 2 are really important with these. So I think that I quite like the 1 and 2 that come out on this one. What are your guys' views on the first two?
Yeah, Bret Hart. Is it his second appearance as number 1? This one was he in the very first one as number 1?
The very first entrance.
Appearance for Bret as number 1. He had a good innings, which is what you want out of Bret at this time. He was just starting to kind of maybe. I mean, he was still Hart Foundation at this time. They were champs, I believe. But he was just starting to really look like he was going to do something on his own as well. Dino Bravo, it is what it is. Second or third in the Rumble is always going to be a kind of early exit type of placement. So it is what it is for Bravo.
Yeah, a decent start, especially when you get Greg Valentine come number 3, which is what's quite surprised me because I'm guessing he had a face turn just before that. I was expecting, it's the old cliche, 2 heels gang up on the baby face, 2-on-1. But Valentine came in and attacked Bravo straight away. So there's 2 faces against the 1 heel, essentially. Although during this match, I did recognise about Valentine is that he played a bit of a tweener, so he was going against the heels and the baby faces.
He come to the ring looking like your Auntie Tracy, didn't he? With his hair and I think straight away I think Jimmy Hart at the ringside. Well,
that's what made this interesting was that the first 3 people out had all been managed or were managed by Jimmy Hart. So that kind of is what their thinking was, I assume.
Yeah, exactly. I think for the first round, so Greg Valentine a good showing in it. I think he came out, chucked Dino Bravo out, and then we carried on with the match, which I think we then had a few mid-carders coming in, one of them being the model Rick Martel, who set the record in this Rumble.
Do you know what? You say mid-carders and things like that, but this was star-studded. There was stars everywhere you looked, and that was one of the things I noticed about this is that every one of them almost, I'm not going to say every, looked like an absolute star, and the fact that they could be considered legends nowadays, and it was just very recognizable. Everyone had their unique gimmicks and unique looks. If you did this in 2021, everyone looks the same. They've got black pants, black, everything like that. Just everyone seems the same character, same attires, same looks.
Yeah, I can see both sides of the coin on this one because there were definitely people that nowadays just wouldn't work. You would class them as jobbers and things like that. But then they had a personality. I mean, we've missed out Roma and Tornado, who came in before Martel. Even people like Roma and Bushwhacker Butch was out a little bit later. And honestly, the pop that Butch got when he first came in was amazing. He probably got the biggest pop. Tornado got a good one, but Butch probably got the biggest pop at that point in the Rumble, which for bushwhackers, for kind of glorified jobbers, shows how good the wrestling was at that time period. I'm just going to flip backwards a little bit, and I'm going to talk about right at the beginning, Howard Finkel as the ring announcer. Just iconic. Just you're never going to get better than Howard Finkel as far as this particular event went. It's what I remember from my childhood. When he passed away, that was all I could think of was just him introducing the Rumble. And then you got your commentary team of Gorilla Monsoon and Roddy Piper. For me, that was the worst part about this Rumble. I really don't think they worked well together. Everything that Piper said, Monsoon was then having to come back from. And to like Piper said straight away, right at the start of the Rumble, there's no rules, of which Monsoon then told everyone the rules straight afterwards. And it tended to be Monsoon having to cover for Piper in this Rumble, so I didn't enjoy that at all.
Yeah, what I've got wrote down is that I love Monsoon on commentary. That's sort of the thing that brings back those nostalgic vibes for me. But you're right that Roddy Piper, oh my God, he kind of ruins every pay-per-view that he commentates on. He's a bit like Chris Jericho now. But yeah, I've always thought Piper is overrated. Unfortunately, I mean, sure, he did some good things, but everyone says how good he was in the mic. But for me, he just talks complete gibberish.
I think Gorilla Monsoon, I don't think he'll ever be replaced. As many you can have your JRs and your Kings, but I think having someone that can make you hang off for every word from what they say and believe every word that they say as well. I think Gorilla Monsoon has that ability, and I don't think it's been replicated since, especially as a kid when you're watching it, and he's describing someone or he brings up an event from the past. And yeah, it's sort of watching it again made you sort of feel about how good he was back then and how descriptive he was as well.
Yeah, I think I learned a lot of words from Gorilla Monsoon.
More
Not
shoes
so
and
much.
hand grenades.
Yeah, not so much from Roddy Piper though. I don't think I've ever said, "Look at that ham hock" in public.
I think.
Go on.
Sorry, the thing with Piper is that he's so irrelevant at the times, and he speaks as if he's talking about things that are in popular culture about 10 years prior to that. Remember, just to go back to the 1990s SummerSlam, which one I can't remember, he says the Rockers look like Mick Jagger and David Bowie, but that was a reference from like 1981 or something like that. And you kind of see that as well at WrestleMania 6 when he's doing the Michael Jackson sort of thing with the half paint and stuff like that. He seems almost very cringeworthy. It's like your granddad who's trying to be cool during.
When he says stuff, he doesn't let it go either. Like, the most irritating part to me at this stage in the Rumble was the fact that he just kept saying Romeo over and over again about Paul Roma. And you could tell, like, Gorilla Monsoon kind of almost getting flustered, like, give me some better things to work with here rather than keep saying the same thing.
But I think he didn't really capture the ability of not being overexcitable throughout the whole thing. It sort of ruins the moments where he needed to be overexcitable. If he's getting too excited for a clothesline or a punch, if someone then drops a leg drop later on in the match, you're not going to believe it as much. So I think that's where it sort of got taken away. But Gorilla Monsoon, on the other hand, just outstanding as normal.
Yeah. So going back to the Rumble itself, you've kind of got your mini story right at the beginning with Valentine, Bravo, and Jimmy Hart. We've talked about up to kind of the model. So you've got Saba Simba next, the immortal Saba Simba, Bushwhacker Butch, but then the real story hits. Jake Roberts comes in. This Rumble was primarily about the story between Jake Roberts and Rick Martel. I think that's the best bit about this Rumble for me, was the story that they told in this match.
It's always good to get their mini feuds come to a head at a Royal Rumble. Fine well, if there's someone in the ring and there's a babyface that's after him, it's going to get a huge pop. It's a bit like maybe sometimes in the Survivor Series as well, where the guys feuding on opposite sides, and one of them gets in the ring, then the other one does, and there's a huge crowd pop. And especially at this time, the crowd were amazing here. You talk about the ovations that they got for the Bushwhacker Lou. It was the same for almost any babyface. Tito Santana got a great reaction. Hacksaw Jim Duggan did. Just anyone that was, that they a face, they just loved seeing them come out. But you mentioned Saba Simba. Wow, does he look out of place here?
Yeah.
Tony Atlas. That's
I think this was almost like the payoff for him. Like, let's give you this, and then let's kind of sweep you with the oldies.
Yeah, I heard he was homeless at the time, so maybe they got him out of the crap just a bit to get him on his feet, which is good by Vince. He kind of does that when people are down the dumps. He'll try and offer them the olive branch and get them out.
Next up, you got kind of Hercules and Tito Santana, like you've touched on. This Rumble had the tagline "friend versus friend, foe versus foe," basically. So I don't think personally they capitalized as much on the tag teams as they could. You always had that tiny bit, like when Power and Glory got together, they did the high five. They hit somebody once each, and then they split, and you never heard of them again. And then Roma ended up getting getting chucked out without Hercules anywhere near and in sight. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing for me, because I think we almost see too much of the collaboration now and loads of people getting thrown out at the same time. Whereas this one, I don't know if you guys noticed, but there was always loads of people in the ring in this Rumble.
Yeah.
So the tag team thing kind of wouldn't work. They couldn't throw loads of people out at the same time. I enjoyed this Rumble loads because it was always a full ring, but there was always about seven or eight. So you could still keep up with it, but there was a lot to focus on.
I definitely prefer that.
Yeah, I think nowadays you can tell when someone big's about to come in. When the ring starts to fill up and there's 8, 9, 10 people in the ring, you know, full well that Reigns is about to come in, or someone that's going to go on a hot streak and start chucking out jabronis left and right. So I think having the ring consistently filled just gives that sort of, when someone big comes in, it is a massive surprise rather than expected.
Just to add to the point you made about the friend versus friend, 4 versus 4, that is actually very true of this Rumble. I've noticed the 89, 90 Rumbles, it was always just the baby face would go after heels and vice versa, and you very rarely got any action where it was heel versus heel or face versus face. But in this one, there was quite a lot of that going on, which is good to see. It was every man for himself, other than, you know, the tag teams didn't go against each other, which is fair enough. But you did get Paul Roma and Rick Martel go at it, who were both managed by Slick, or at least on the same Survivor Series team a month prior. So I like that bit about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Roma, I was trying to get this in earlier. What a glorious drop kick he does. Standing drop kick. I wish I could do something like that.
I don't know if you noticed with Roma, very early on in the Rumble, Valentine properly no-sells anything that Roma does. So I don't know if there's any beef between them outside, but every time Roma hits Valentine, Valentine walks off and does nothing.
Yeah. Now's a good time, as I sort of mentioned, this is the last Rumble that meant nothing, if that makes sense. Obviously, next year you had the 92 Rumble, and then it moves on to the title shot of Mania. So I think this was a real turning point for the Rumble, as you said, being star-studded or being the fans were really behind it. And I think this might have been like the push it needed for them to recognise the match as an actual something that needed to be rewarded to win it and to really build it up.
I completely agree with that, but I think the Rumble had already got itself enough significance by this point, by the fact that Hogan won the year before. It was already a big enough event on its own. I do agree the title shot is brilliant, excellent, love it, but I think the Rumble itself was a definite massive event by this point as well, even though it meant nothing.
Meant nothing but something.
Yep.
No spoilers, obviously, on the winner for this one. But yeah, just obviously then carry on. Yeah,
I was just going to say, next up you've got the Rumble. Is Rumble debut of Undertaker, right?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. 2 months after it debuted.
That's a massive part in it. You know, comes in, throws a couple of people out. I believe Brett and Bushwhacker Butch.
That could be a bit of a trivia one. That who was the first person that Undertaker ever eliminated in a Royal Rumble? And it was Brett.
With Brother Love as well. Good old Bruce came in. A lot of management presence in this Rumble, which was nice. Maybe could have capitalised it on a bit more by having some kind of interaction between them, but I guess that would have taken away from the already quite packed ring.
Yeah, that's a good point with that. Yes. Speaking of, I said out of place with Saba Simba, Shane Douglas also looked a bit out of place. I know I think it's his only pay-per-view appearance at this time. But he had been, you know, working house shows, and I think he had a few matches on Superstars and things like that, but it wasn't too well known at the time.
He was a replacement. He wasn't scheduled for the Rumble. So yeah, there was three people not scheduled that were in it, which we'll probably get to at the end.
Well, Brian Knobs was one of them, which we'll come to in a sec. But yeah, I wasn't sure on the Shane Douglas side of things.
Who did they replace then? Do you know?
So I'll run through the three. Brian Knobs was actually scheduled, apparently. The three that were supposed to be in the Rumble that were advertised for it were Andre. That'll have been purely to get pay-per-view buys, I would imagine. Honky Tonk Man, who was going through contract disputes at the time and then left, and Playboy Buddy Rose was supposed to be in it as well. He was advertised for it. And they were replaced by Shane Douglas, Tito Santana, and Greg Valentine. One of the longest in it was a replacement.
It's strange not having them penciled in to begin with.
So I read that Knobs replaced Honky. Might have not been from a reliable source in that case then. But yeah, same thing. Apparently Honky was on commentary and his contract was running out at the end of the year, December. But also they've recorded up until the Rumble. But he was advertised to be in it. But that's why Sags isn't in the match, because obviously Knobs was the replacement who only debuted a month before. But Sags was in a dark match. Bit of extra trivia.
Strange one that they didn't have both Nasty Boys in, especially when you got a Macho Man no-show. They could have just, slipped the other Nasty Boy.
Yeah, I was going to come to that at the end, because it would have made the process with Bulldog a little bit better. Like Bulldog might have got a bit more out of that if there was both Nasty Boys and Earthquake at the end.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
Talking about Bulldog, it was Undertaker, Superfly, Bulldog, Smash, and then Hawk. So quite a lot of tag teamy big men out next. Hawk was Gorilla Monsoon's enemy in this Rumble. I don't know if you noticed, but if you'd had a shot every time that Gorilla Monsoon called him Animal, you would have been drunk by the end of the Rumble. But I think, again, Monsoon was getting flustered with not having much to go off with Viper.
Yeah, you're bound to make small mistakes like that. GR does it quite a lot, but, these are the people at the top of the game, so if they can make mistakes, anyone can.
And then Shane Douglas, like you say, out next.
I think that little block is very important. I think that when you can class, apart from the maybe Bulldog, but you can class that as like the ring filling block, because obviously they're predominantly tag team wrestlers. But once again, they got big pops. Apart from Shane Douglas, which I think everyone thought was perfect when he first came out, but I did anyway. And then I was like, oh no, it's Shane Douglas.
And that was the point in the Rumble where the model Jake story kind of really came to fruition and came to a head, eventually leading to Jake being eliminated by model illegally, or not illegally because it was a Rumble.
Yep. Well, you're being quite descriptive, Adam, so why don't you take us to the next part?
Go for it, yeah. Again, 18, you've already mentioned it, was the no-show of Macho King. Due to the just continuing the storyline of Warrior chasing him out of the building earlier in the pay-per-view and leading up to Mania. So it kind of made sense. I always hate it with a Rumble because I feel like they could have elevated somebody or given somebody a payoff, but it made sense.
Yeah. I suppose you had to keep that storyline going, especially if Macho Man was advertised in the match.
So go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, one thing I'll point out is the difference between, like, back there, obviously, I know during the match after 18 no-showed, the commentary team were like, oh, is it Tugboat? Is it Savage? We don't know. And I think that was good, because nowadays you get, one thing I hate about the Rumbles nowadays is a tag team will appear on the Titantron with the tag team music. Before the person's come out, Michael Cole will go, oh, it's Curtis Axel. But because no way of knowing that unless he knows the numbers that they've come out. So it's less of a surprise, basically. So I think having that, it's only a small detail, but having the sort of the commentary team acting as if they don't know what number of people are coming out on, and it being a surprise step into it as well.
I don't mind that they don't have entrance music. I think sometimes it does make a good moment, but otherwise it's not needed. What do you think Edge's pop would have been as good without the music last year?
No.
Yeah, I suppose. Maybe the music is needed then. Fair enough.
Yeah, it wasn't my point.
So you got LOD Animal out next. Interesting in this Rumble that you've got both Demolition and LOD, because obviously they eventually got rid of Demolition quite soon after this. And the Hawk went out really quickly after Animal came in, which again I think was a little bit of a missed opportunity with barely any interaction between them. They did
eliminate the Undertaker though, didn't they? So
they did, that was their one bit in between.
Yeah, they kind of needed some big guys like that to do that to the Undertaker at the time to keep that mystique or the perceived winning streak going. So it was a good booking, that, I think.
Yeah, I think Hawk went out really soon after they eliminated The Undertaker with a kind of sneaky model attack on the back.
Yep.
Crush, Jim Duggan, and then one of what you could say was probably only two contenders in this Rumble by that point, which was Earthquake out next. And he kind of changed the dynamics of it a little bit, made it quite heely, the Rumble after that.
Correct. Yes, so I said before, that pop for Jim Duggan, amazing. And he came in with such fire as well, unloading. And sometimes you give Jim Duggan a bit of a hard time, but that guy was bloody well over.
Still is.
Yeah.
Well, it's the
Nice
USA
guy.
side of things, isn't it? I think you've got to think everything that was happening around the event. If someone comes in chanting USA, the crowd, they always get behind them.
Yeah. Yes.
So, yeah, it's your three biggies in a row here, because you had Earthquake, then you've got the Intercontinental Champion, Mr. Perfect, with the first appearance of Heenan, and then you got Hogan.
Yep. So I've got to admit, I watched this last night. I drifted off a little bit because I need to do a bit prep for the podcast. So I was it had half of my attention, let's put it that way. So you can talk us through this one, Jamie.
Well, Perfect was supposed to win originally, apparently. This is the rumor and innuendo. That Perfect was originally scheduled to win, being the Intercontinental Champion. Obviously, this is before they went on to Mania to face the champion. So I think that was originally the plan, was for Perfect to go on to win this one. But alas, he got bullied out of it. Well, just went a different direction. But originally scheduled was Perfect to win the Rumble.
I don't think it would have worked.
I think it would have been a worthy winner. So you don't
I think it
would
would
have worked?
1990 would have worked better for Perfect to win, I would say.
The perfect number.
So between them, Hogan and Quake started kind of getting rid of people then, and reducing the numbers. And I'd probably say everyone else was really filler after that until Tugboat came in at number 30. So you had Haku, Jim Neidhart, Bushwhacker Luke, Knobs, Warlord after that. I think we've missed Demolition Crush somewhere in that mix as well.
Oh no, you got him in there.
So everyone filled.
Yeah, so Crush was 20th. I think you did cover him. Don't worry. Yeah, I agree.
And then Tugboat. Nice little story when Tugboat came in.
Yeah, Tugboat versus the Earthquake.
And then versus Hogan.
Yeah, as I said, that was a good little thing throughout the Rumble, is that they did the every man for himself gimmick and kept true to it.
I didn't realize how over Tugboat was. I only see him in a few events, and so he's always Typhoon to me. But I didn't realize sort of how long and how over Tugboat was as a wrestler.
Yeah, really, really over. He was one of the big ones at that point, especially with Earthquake being the main bad guy. It just kind of worked. So final four, you got Bulldog, Knobs, Earthquake, and Hogan. But just before the final four, did you notice anything interesting about number 5, Rick Martel?
Yeah, it was the longest, appearance to date, wasn't it?
Yeah. Anything else?
No, go on.
Bloody handsome. It was bloody handsome.
He didn't actually get eliminated. He wasn't technically out. He went through the middle ropes to the outside, climbed up the turnbuckle, and then probably the best moment of the match for me was the Bulldog. That was Perfect, sorry, with the Bulldog drop kick. But he was eliminated from the top rope, so he'd actually got out through the middle rope, so not eliminated.
I think on the turnbuckle. On the turnbuckle, if someone gets thrown off, I think they're technically over the top rope, then, aren't they?
Ooh, I don't know about that. Didn't get in the ring.
Look up the rules.
Let's go to
We'll have to look up the
VAR.
rules. Yeah. I think there's been a few questionable ones like this, hasn't there?
Yeah. You got to think, obviously, the Iron Man performance that he put in, 50 minutes, and then you look at the others, the time that some of the others got, which they had no real right to at the time. Valentine was 44 minutes. Hercules was 37 minutes. Obviously, Bulldog at 36. So in there, they're one of the reasons why this Rumble, as you said before, about it filling up so much, is because they were given time in the Rumble, or given time to work, rather than you get the sort of stories where between 1 and 10, someone will come in and take everyone out, and they're left in the ring by themselves waiting for 11. It was a continuous.
The only way that you get that now is if, say, like a Rey Mysterio is playing an injured angle and he rolls to the outside or something, so he's not in the ring when somebody big comes in and throws everybody out. It's the only way it goes down now.
Yeah, I wish to take a few notes from this Rumble, because I would love to see the ring fill up and be constantly full and people having a longer time. But I suppose they're going to have to make it shorter due to having 2 Rumbles now as well. So they've got to do things like that, I guess, to keep it in time.
I probably would have, for the final 4, I probably would have given Bulldog a little bit more, because he got thrown out quite easily. I know it's the 2 men attacking one, but he got thrown out quite easily, and then it was kind of plain sailing from there. You kind of expected everything that happened from there. They could have made a little bit more of a spectacle of it. Hogan hulking up and getting Quake out at the end. Very nicely, Quake, for a big man, went over that top rope very well at the end.
I've got to admit, I think the last 2 went on for too long.
Oh, it was ages.
Yeah, it was, especially for those 2. Hogan should have really just eliminated them both in quite quick succession, rather than having a little mini match with Earthquake at the end. I suppose that was the blow off to half a year angle.
I always like it when the heels team up and then one of them turns into a little dastardly heel and tries to throw the other one out, and then that's when, then obviously in this case you needed that for Hogan's mortal to carry the USA through the war that we're currently in. That's what you needed, was Hogan to overcome all odds. The modern day John Cena back then.
Yeah, I think that angle's a bit cliche now.
Yeah,
definitely. But it was a long drawn out affair, those final 2.
It was. So you your points on this. Hogan got most eliminations with 7. And Rick Martel, we've already spoken about it, 53 minutes, I think it was, that he lasted. My standout moments of this Rumble, the bits that I particularly enjoy, Bulldog did an amazing drop kick to get Mr. Perfect out when he was on the top rope. That's probably my favourite bit of this Rumble. And you've got to love the Bushwhacker Luke coming in, Earthquake, then throwing him immediately out of the other side. I think Earthquake literally had to tell Earthquake to vamoose. Earthquake had to tell Hercules to vamoose at that point, because he knew he had to get Luke, and somebody just kept attacking him. I think it was Hercules. So he was literally shoving him out of the way. Get away from me. They were my 2 favourite points. What about you 2?
Absolutely. That's my favourite moment of the whole Rumble, is the Bushwhacker Luke elimination, because it's so iconic. You still talk about it to this day, and if anyone mentions the Bushwhackers, that's the thing they think of. This walk down the ring, Earthquake takes him to the side of the ropes, throws him over with ease. He just gets back up and marches back. It was absolutely brilliant. You couldn't have played that any better.
No, I think the thing that makes it is definitely the walk back. The walk back with that always just is sort of, that makes the moment for me. And so you can throw someone out easily, as you've seen, but yeah.
I think it was so much more comical, because it was almost like Luke just let Earthquake do it. It was like, yeah, fair enough. Come on, just hoist me over. That's fine. And
off I go.
Some great crowd interaction after it as well, because I believe he just carried on walking and licked a few heads and stuff like that. It's just brilliant.
Perfect.
Couldn't do that in the pandemic.
Yeah, or even just even in 2019. But yeah, we talked about before with you said Mr. Perfect might have won it, but do you think the right winner happened at this Rumble? Do you think Hogan should have won it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, I think for the times, what had happened earlier in the show with Slaughter beating Warrior, I think that they had to end this way. I think both of them played their part into it, which then led to the Mania match. So I think definitely
couldn't think of anyone else that was more fitting to win this one, especially when they were going to go with Hogan and Slaughter at Mania. It just, there was no argument for anyone else winning it this time.
No, definitely not. I mean, as much as I'd like to have seen maybe like Smash or Crush go on to win it, you just can't see it happening, can you? So yeah, definitely the standout was Hollywood.
Yeah. So what? Another thing I didn't notice about this Rumble is that Mattel have actually made quite a lot of these figures in the attires that we've seen in the Rumble. So you got your Tito, Greg, Demolition, Legion of Doom, Earthquake, Martel, Bulldog in a way that we've already discussed, Undertaker, Bushwhackers, Knobs, Hacksaw, Warlord, Tugboat, and Brett all had these attires made by Mattel. So very close to having a almost complete Royal Rumble there for your figures.
Yeah, well noticed.
Yeah, I think it's the front cover, especially you can recreate, can't you? You can recreate the front cover of that with the figures. I don't think there's any missing from that.
They all wore pants, so you kind of need a whole different figure. But you're right in the way that they do have figure representation of some sort, but not quite right.
One attire that I was quite surprised at in the Rumble, I mean, I've not really followed his career in great detail, but Haku came out in 1985-86 Islanders attire, which shocked me a little bit because I didn't think he went fully back to that. Am I completely wrong there?
Yeah, he did go back to it. He went from like the King gimmick, and then he started wearing things like the Islanders just in different colours, and then towards the end of the WF run, it was just plain black. But it was normal. It was fitting. But I would say, if anything surprised me, was the Texas Tornadoes outfit, because it was all purple on white, and I've never seen that represented in a figure form or anything like that. It wasn't in the Hasbro or Mattel lines. So I think if they did do another Tornado, I'd love it to be in that attire.
Yeah, hopefully they do.
I jotted that down as well. That one surprised me.
But yeah, I mean, this is it's got to be up there with my favourite Rumbles. It's got to be in the top 5 anyway, definitely. For me, this Rumble, I think as you said, but if we alluded to, it's just pretty much got everything that you could want from a Rumble, and they should use this as like a template for future ones. But
I'm all out of notes. Have you got anyone to say?
No, so we've sort of covered my facts with Perfect winning and Knobs replacing Honky, but now Adam's saying he didn't, so we have to fact check that one. But yeah, I think all in all, just last note on it is that it was just a fantastic event, really, an iconic one for my childhood, especially the front cover of it.
Yeah, and if you're going to watch it, apparently check out the Rockers Orient Express match before it as well, because that got absolutely rave reviews.
Yeah. Even Bossman versus Barbarian had a decent little tussle as well. It's quite good.
And Macho King attacking poor Armored Warrior. Because you couldn't give Sergeant the wins clean, could you?
Final point.
Oh, there we go. Final.
I do actually really like the fact that the people that were in the original matches were not in the Rumble.
Oh, yeah.
I think nowadays everyone that's in the original match near enough gets in the Rumble, and I don't like that. I've already seen them. I want to see other people.
That's not always strictly true. It's almost like they just decide and pick and choose who it is. I think if they're a bigger star, they always get the spot. But what I don't like, I think they did it with Roman Reigns. I think he had a title shot in the card earlier, then he got in the Rumble later.
That was 2016.
That should never happen.
He faced Owens in the Shark Cage match with Jericho above the ring, and then he come down number 30.
Yeah, that's a bit off-putting. Sometimes I don't mind if it's like an intercontinental match or whatever, but don't have your world title contenders be re-entered in the Rumble.
No, for me, it doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, did he pre-plan that he was going to lose the match and then...
It's a bit like Becky Lynch as well, so...
Yeah.
Exactly. Right, so yeah, next up we've got the underrated Superstar! Underrated Royal Rumble, followed by underrated our Superstar with your staff. Welcome back, and underrated our Superstar time now, and on this day I see clearly, I'm going to pass it across to Jono.
Yeah, I'm going to try and keep it away from Mattel because you guys seem adamant you're going to keep bringing them up in an underrated segment. So we're going with Jax, and it's the classic Superstars, and it is George the Animal Steel. The main reason why I'm going to pick this one is, what sort of figure have you ever known to come with actual, I was going to say fur, but it's a synthetic chest hair, arm hair, body hair. So that's a bit interesting. Also got it on card right here. Looks
Can we have a
slightly
look at that? Can we have a look at that bear on card? Yeah.
Yeah. The one on card seems to have a darker chest hair. I do think there was actually different versions of these made, like variants or running changes. So maybe the one I've got in box had extra hair, but this one not so much. Either that or it's rubbed off over time when it's been played with, or whatever happened to it before I got this one. Also comes with a turnbuckle and a club. So a couple of nice accessories with it as well.
Sure didn't come with mine. I think it's probably the only thing I'd say. Did he have it at this time, or?
Sorry, what was that?
That mine, the soft toy he had.
He would have had it, yeah. Jack's never made that accessory.
They probably spent too much money on his hair, didn't they?
Clearly.
Yeah, I think with this figure, it would have been good if they did this with Albert or A-Train or whatever. I think that would have been another person that would have maybe benefited from that. But it's good to have the detail in there, certainly. It makes sense to have it in there.
Definitely went above and beyond with the detail with the actual synthetic hair. Impressive.
So I'm going to completely disagree with you here. I absolutely hate that figure. I think the hair on it is disgusting. It's horrible. It feels gross. It gets stuff stuck in it when you buy it on the second-hand market. It's just gross. The fact that it doesn't come with mine as well, I think the Mattel one is 10 times better than that one. So yeah, I'm not overly impressed with that one.
I'm not a fan of the chest hair. Not your preference in men then.
Yeah, so George Animal Steel is a bit before my time. I think he was more 80s, wasn't he?
Yeah,
70s, 80s. So I think for me as a child, I wouldn't have picked this figure up. So I didn't know that it come with weird chest hair. But I think I can appreciate the gesture of them making the extra chest hair, the chester, so to speak. But yeah, I can appreciate that. But yeah, no opinions on it, should we say?
Yeah, I think with the club, it coming with the club, it might be from a slightly earlier period than mine, because he made a comeback in 1985, and he went into one match teaming with Beefcake and Valentine, I believe, and he was turned into a face in that match. And then they had a series of vignettes straight after that where he had mine. So the club and stuff might be from earlier when he was still a heel.
Sure. Yep, overall, I think we can qualify this underrated since Adam hates it. I love it, so very underrated.
Did he used to eat the turnbuckle? Is that the relevance to that? Or?
Yeah, that's the relevance of the turnbuckle.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a good accessory.
Yeah.
But you know, Jacks are famous for putting accessories in that mean absolutely nothing, so he might not have ever carried a club. So there's that to consider, but it is what it is. I like the figure. Adam hates it. And Jamie, what's your thoughts?
Oh, he's not the first figure we've had that's carrying a club. AJ Styles has been released, and he's been carrying the club for many years. No, nothing. No just selling that. You, Greg Valentine, and me on that one. Yeah, as I said, I sort of on the fence there. I can see why they did the chest hair. I appreciate the chest hair. So, in my opinion, because I didn't know it had the chest hair, I think it's an underrated figure based off that.
Lovely stuff. And
so it's 2-1.
Qualifies.
Yeah. Turnbuckle wise, if he ate the turnbuckle, I like the accessory, but it means nothing to me. It doesn't bring me back any feels. George the Animal feel. Lovely. So we're back in a second with the retro review. There's 2 jokes for you in one segment. I hope you enjoyed them. Retro review time now, and this is the segment we like to look at past retro Mattel series. I say past, it's technically still going, it hasn't been stopped. Series 9, Jonathan, take the wheel, Jesus.
Yes, series. Oh, yes, we are discussing Series 9, but we always have a look back on the results of Series 8. So we have got a high score coming in by Braun Strowman. It averages out at 7.95 overall. So he's up there in the top 5. Iron Sheik got a 6.82 mid-table. Jeff Hardy got a 6.27, again mid-table. And Zack Ryder, 5.91, which is lower table. I think the listeners pretty much, around about agreed with us.
There was some mixed bags in there. There was certainly some mixed bag. I think Zack Ryder was the difference maker. I think he had some very high scores and some very low scores. So did the Sheik.
Yeah, the Sheik and Ryder are very torn. We've seen 2s and 4s. But we've also seen 8s and 7s and things like that for those two. Interesting one. It's always good to hear what the listeners think. So I hope they continue to do that.
I think it's sort of very much a new versus old generation on that side of things, isn't it?
Perhaps you would think. Right, so let's move on to Series 9. Have you guys got these ones? I know Jamie does.
Do indeed.
Well, I think I'll still kick us off and we'll talk about Goldust first. So, my notes on Goldust are, I like the decoration on the chest and the boots. That's a plus. The wig accessory or any accessory gets double points because you very rarely got them in the retros. I think the face works, because he's face painted, it kind of masks any sort of defects he may have had. Chop action, not sure. Did Goldust chop much? Probably not.
Curtain called chop, I think it says on the box.
A very Mattel retro thing is they got no decoration on the back. Boo.
I love the fact that they've gone with the early Goldust for the choice of this. I think it fits the retro series so much better. I think the facial features are too big on it. Not the head itself. The actual features on the face seem really big for me, including the chin. I don't know if it's just because of how the gold's painted, but it looks like he's got a massive double chin.
Yeah.
The decoration's fine. There is slight bits that they could have added onto it, especially the facial paint. And I think that was it that I've got on that. Again, the actions don't really match for me.
No, I think Goldust wise, the only thing I could think of was having the leg, which would have made sense for the Shattered Dreams. Would have been the only thing maybe they could have done differently.
Seeing as the
I agree.
Figures in this series that have exactly the same action, they didn't need to Goldust this action.
No, but so I mean that's the baffling thing for me. One thing I'd like to see would have been, I'm not saying that, I would have said would have been a zip on the back. So that's what Goldust had back then. Was it the zip on the front or the back? But this is sort of the late 90s Gold or mid to late 90s Goldust run, which is arguably one of my favourite Goldust because this one was a bit weirder, a bit more memorable. So I'm glad that's set you off. Sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
Yeah, just to answer your question, the zip was at the front because I always remember the angle where he was zipping it down and he was showing Razor Ramon, possibly his chest.
That was it.
Make him
So I think wig-wise, perfect. Whip the wig off. They could have been lazy. They could have not painted the head and the ears as well as they have done. I'm glad they have gone down that route and painted it that colour. The Electrum look, I quite like. But I agreed. The back, I mean, I understand they're using the front to sell the figure. That's where it is in the box. But, I mean, come on, guys. Just pop a bit of something on there, please.
I'll kick us off with the scores, I think, on this one. I still think it's a pretty high score, and the accessory pushes up a bit more, and it's 7.7 for me.
There's a few things that let it down for me, but again, it's still relatively high, 7.2.
Yep. And Jamie?
I've got a bit higher than the pair of you. I've gone 7.9. So the only downside to it was just the lack of detail on the back. But I think overall, and the action, but overall, I think the wig just sells it for me. Toyetic, nice, but a good figure.
Lovely stuff. Let's move on to the Macho Man. Yes, who wants to take this one? Raise your arms.
I'll crack on with. There we go. It's raised. We discussed this the other week. This was originally supposed to be Cesaro. Was supposed to be in this series, but Mattel have gone with the 2 flashbacks, 2 modern day figures, so they didn't have room for Cesaro. So they replaced him with the Macho Man on there. I'd like to have seen a Cesaro, but I'm equally as glad that we've got this one, because this was the one that everyone was missing from the Hasbro selection. JC Penney had the green trunks advertised, never released it, so I think this would fill a void in a lot of collections, a lot of collectors. But all in all, yeah, it looks a lot like Barry Gibb again, as did the last one from the Bee Gees. Trunks-wise, they pop. The stars on there look good. The yellow boots, the knee pads look good as a colour. Not very colour coordinated is our Macho, but even so, I like the figure.
Yeah, it's a nice figure. The action for the elbow drop works. It's a bit boring in the fact that they've not done anything with the hats and they've not done anything with the boots. Even a star on it or something would have been nice. I don't know if you've got one, but in the box I can't see any. The glasses is a nice addition for me. And I think that's all I've got written down. Yeah.
Yeah, to add to that, I'll say that there's no deco on the back. Again, very Mattel retro of them. But other than that, I've just got pluses written down. I like the deco on the front, and action's good for the elbow drop band. And I think it's a good face, actually. I mean, if you want to say it's Macho Man, it's recognizable, but it's probably hidden by the fact that it has got glasses and a hat. But happy with that, and it's an iconic figure and a remake of a Hasbro that was never released, so the perfect choice.
Like a packet of Starburst, doesn't he? The different colours on there. That's it. Or Opal Fruits back in the day, as they would have been called around this era.
Useless trivia. Let's get some scores.
I'll kick us off then, as I went last time. Sorry, Adam. 7.5 for me.
The hat and the boots, no detail, is quite unforgivable for me. 7.
I really like this figure. I'm going to keep it pretty high, and I'm going to go 8.3. Very, very happy with that one.
Oh yeah.
I'll kick us off with this in terms of what I want to say, and it's Randy Orton next. But they've went backwards on us, and they've put the deco on the back, but not on the front. Oh man, why? Anyone else want to talk us through this one?
Well, I'll start off with the other 2 that we've just seen had an open hand, and this one is probably the one that could have done with the open hands in the same style, purely because you could have done the RKO still, and you could have posed him with the open hands. So for me, that really made no sense why the other 2, Macho and Goldie, have got an open hand and Orton hasn't. It's one of those that suffers with no neck. There's no neck at all on this figure. To say that they've not got much to do, I know tattoos are detailed, but the trunks are obviously plain and everything's plain. They haven't put the tattoos on the shoulders, which is a real takeaway point for me. Just laziness as far as that's concerned. The RKO action, like I've said, is good. I think the beard is probably a bit too beardy. I think they could have done with it being a bit more stubbly.
Right.
And that's it.
A little bit of the stubbly.
Yeah, I didn't recognise about the no tattoos on the torso on the front, so knocks it down a little bit for me. No deco on the front is quite unforgivable, so it looks nice from if you're going to display it from behind, though. I think I might actually do that instead of displaying it front ways. Action is neither here nor there, but right, if it had the open hands, it could have been a nice pose. The face is pretty good. I think it's quite, for a retro, it's one of the better ones, and there's good detail on the arms too. So it's not bad.
My head on the figure, not my personal head, is a bit misshapen. I don't know if you guys can sort of see that. There's a big dent on the top left of the head. I looked straight on it, which is weird. Not sure if that's a consistent thing for your figures or.
No, I can't see anything
No, just mine then. I can't knock him down for that one then. Back of the pants, I think just as Orton. I'd quite like to have seen Orton with the tribal thing he has like at the side, either side there. Bit more detail. I mean, Orton wore blue pants, he's wore red pants. Why are they going with the black ones? Makes no sense. Tattoo wise, they look fine. As I said, they are missing one or two bits. Head sculpt wise, the face looks accurate, but then the rest of it just looks a bit too spacey for me.
Fair enough. I'll kick us off with the scores. I don't think it's a bad figure overall. There's a couple of bits to let down, as we said, and I'm going 6.9.
I'm going to go much lower than that. There's quite a few things that I think are unforgivable on this one. 5.7.
Right. I'm right in the middle, 6.4.
Mixed bag there, but all in similar ballpark. Next and last, it's Samoa Joe, which is essentially Kevin Owens with a different head on and a bit different decor.
A lot cheaper.
Yeah. The lower half's fine. It is what it is. But there's lots of minuses for me. It's just a repaint of Owens. The face is pretty bad. Shouldn't really have a shirt if you're doing a Samoa Joe in a retro form. It should be shirtless to match his actual wrestling attire. And this action for me is neither here nor there. I don't even know what it's supposed to be.
The headbutt.
Yeah, Joe never did the headbutt.
Good.
Oh, it's hard though, isn't he? Big old Swede on him, Joe's got, isn't he? Adam, do you want to kick us off? I think
just on the back of what Jono said, really, it's a strange one to go all out on the detail because the T-shirt is really amazing. The amount of detail they've got in the T-shirt, it's brilliant. But it's a figure that didn't really need it, like Jono said. And even down to the one elbow pad and the wrist pads, they're all perfect. They all are what he had. The fact that he looks Chinese really doesn't help the figure. He looks Chinese rather than Samoan. And yeah, the attire is the attire. It's quite good, but it wasn't fully needed for the Samoa Joe one. And the action is, like you say, pointless.
Yeah, we only got the shirt because it was just a quick redo from Owens. But do you know what you said about Cesaro being replaced? I thought this was the original one that replaced it because of how easy would it be to remake it.
Yeah, and you would have thought so. When all I can think is that Cesaro would have had this motion, and they just popped the old macho head on there.
Yeah.
I think of it. So Samoa Joe, looking at the action, I would have thought it's some form of Uranagi would be the move. There's anything I could think of that's going to match it. You can't lock in the Kukida clutch.
Yeah.
Pronounce that right. Which once again would have come in handy to have the old Hogan bear hugs back, or some form of that. So the action-wise doesn't make a great deal to me. As you said, it's a repaint of the Samoa Joe's T-shirt on. Shorts-wise, it's what Samoa Joe wore. So that's relatively detailed and accurate. Boots-wise, plain black. It could have been done a lot simpler, which is the opposite of the rest of the series. If you make it a lot simpler, I think it would have been a better figure.
Okay.
So that's a 7 for me. I'll kick it off with the scores. 7 for me.
Pretty
Straight
high
6 for me.
Wow.
Straight 6.
So, yeah, I've went 5.1 was my original score, so pretty much a 5, 6, and a 7 there. All over the show.
Yeah, well, the reason I've given it a relatively high is because I like the bottom half of it. I think the head sculpt's fine, but moves and T-shirts are unnecessary. And as you said,
I think it was a bit of a cop-out.
I
think it was a bit of a cop-out, to be honest. It was just a very easy one to use the Kevin Owens body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in all, I'm happy for the figure. But it's a shame they've got Cesaro because I bloody love Cesaro. So fingers crossed they reignite the series.
We see it every week.
As we say every week. But I'm still hoping that when we review Series 10 for the next episode, that's when the news will be out. And it's not going to happen, is it?
Not going to happen.
No, I'll give up the ghost.
It'll happen eventually, but I don't see it happening this year or possibly even next.
No. Shame, really. Right, so Q&A is up next. Boys, any other pointers on Retro 9?
Nope.
Done and dusted.
No. We'll make sure, obviously, everyone listening and watching this to go over to our Facebook page at 3POA or just the 3 Points of Articulation podcast. Cast your votes in, which ones you think what the score should be for this series, and then we'll have a look at them and get a combined score. Now, brilliant. So we're back in a second with the Q&A.
You what, mate?
3 points of interrogation time now. And boy, do we have a big one this week. So we've got one question for this segment, because it's a big question that everyone talks about, and it's one that we thought that we should discuss. So it's a good thing that Dan Canvas has asked it. Question for us, boys, is who is on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling? Mount Rushmore, if you're not familiar, is obviously a place in America that has the 4 presidents on there. And in this scenario, it's mainly used as who would be the all-time great, or the GOATs, as they say. Let's head over to Johnny first. Give us your 4, please.
It's a sort of question we hear all the time, especially on podcasts, main podcasts like Conrad Thompson does, the Bruce Pritchards, the Eric Bischoffs, Arn Anderson, etc., been asked this 1,000 times, but they often get it asked in a way that narrows it down. Like sometimes they ask, what's the Mount Rushmore tag teams, what's the Mount Rushmore managers, or promoters, etc., etc. But this is an overall thing. So what you think is the 4 most important people in the wrestling history? So for me, I'm not gonna do it with my heart, but I'll do it with my head. So these are not necessarily my favorites, but if you're going to look at the industry in general, this is the 4 people I think stand out as being the people that's stood out and maybe carried promotion sort of time. So going furthest back, it's Bruno Sammartino. So this guy was a huge star in the 60s, 70s, and possibly even bit parts of the 80s as well. So has longevity, was champion for years upon years, a huge draw. So I'll stick him with first. So looking to the next one, you pass the torch to Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan almost was a bigger name than the whole WWF. There was always that debate who created WrestleMania, was it Hogan or McMahon? So yeah, next up, past that torch was a star that was almost bigger than the industry, was Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that's the Attitude Era. And to round it off, it might be controversial, but you ask any kid these days to name a wrestler, they're going to go, do, it's John Cena. So yeah, so that's mine. Sammartino, Hogan, Austin, Cena.
Sammartino and the Hollywood Boys.
Yeah, I guess it is. You're right.
Obviously, Stone Cold being the star of major motion picture, The Condemned, which
I like that film.
That's
Great
a good film. Nathan Jones is also in it.
Correct.
Who's not in anyone's Mount Rushmores. Even the Mount Rushmore of Australian wrestlers, Nathan Jones is still quite far down. Adam, do you want to...
2 seconds.
Yeah, go on.
It's like what you say, this question can be interpreted in different ways. It can be a favourite, it can be the most important, or subjectional, or any other way. So I'm interested to see what you guys have in your lists.
So I've gone through a very similar thinking process as you. I considered, should I make it my personal Mount Rushmore? But I think for the question, no, it needs to be the people who are the most important in the industry. I have gone slightly different in the fact that I've gone for my lifetime.
Yeah.
Purely because I considered Sammartino, but I do not know enough about him to put him in this list. So that is the only reason he's not in my list. So first one I've gone for is the one that I think has been the most influential on future stars. The one that they always mention, who they want to be like, who they watched when they were little, who they recreate, and that is Ric Flair. He is the first one on my list, not in a personal respect, but in a head respect. Next one, who I think that exceeded him, because I think it's got to be people who get bigger than the previous star in their generation. So the next one that exceeded him was Hogan. definitely. I think Hogan, if there was a one Mount Rushmore, it would have to be Hogan. So he's definitely number 2. Number 3, the person who exceeded Hogan in a new era of fans who didn't quite get Hogan as much as the previous era is Stone Cold Steve Austin. The least longevity out of all 4, I would definitely say, in Austin, especially from when he became big. And then the one that takes over from Austin, we're carrying on the same vein, is Cena. It's got to be. I think when you said it might be controversial, I don't think there's any controversy whatsoever. I think Cena has to go in everyone's Mount Rushmore if you're going to talk about importance on the wrestling industry, because there is no one else that's got anywhere near him in the past 15 years. So there we go.
Maybe he's not as underrated as I thought, but you're right. It's a good point. I think you're always going to get Hogan and Austin. I don't see any argument against that. You certainly can, omit either or of Flair, Sammartino, or Cena, I think, and justify it. So it'll be interesting to see what Jamie has in his thoughts.
I've gone for a personal one I've gone with the heart rather than the head. I said to Adam before I pressed record, it's changed so many times because you sort of think, how can I leave this guy out and how can I leave this guy out? And it's just, it ended up just becoming who are my personal people that have influenced me to watch wrestling and keep going back and watching those matches. So first of all, obviously, was Hogan. You've got to put Hogan on there, I think, just for the late 80s, early 90s. It's just got to be. And then what then developed into the Monday Night Wars off the back of Hogan going to WCW and giving them some attention. So that has just sort of kept it relevant throughout that period as well. Austin stays the same as you guys. I think you've got to have Stone Cold on there, personally, just because of the 3-4 years that he was on at the top 4, maybe even 5, was just the best years in my opinions. So next I've gone different for the other 2 for you guys. So I've gone Triple H, only because I feel that as a heel, he is the ultimate heel for me, and I think you need to have a heel in there. It was a heel from 1996 all the way throughout, apart from the miniature DX run in the mid 2000s. But I think he brings something to the table that the other 3 don't. Finally, controversial one for me, but Chris Jericho I've put on there, only because once again WCW, he moved to WWF, a big movement in the sort of paradigm from WCW to WWF, and then even now where he's continuing to win world championships with AEW and starting that rivalry as well. So I think for me that they're the 4 that I've looked up to throughout my wrestling life.
Wow, yeah, certainly very different, and you see like your heart rolled over this one. I think with the Jericho one, I think he's almost the self-proclaimed greatest of all time. He said it that many times, it's gone into everyone's head that he is.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think for me personally, I don't agree with the fact that he's the greatest of all time. But I think for me and what he means to me as a child and watching him through to now, I think he deserves a place on my Mount Rushmore.
Well, he's in your top 4. That's what I mean. It's like, to see him saying he's put himself into that mix, I think. Not that he doesn't deserve it, because he has done a lot, but
yeah, similar to what CM Punk was doing, but best in the world.
Yeah, it's self-proclaimed for me.
But I can definitely see an argument in Triple H. Personally, I didn't like him as a wrestler. But I can see an argument for the fact the longevity of it, the fact that how he's got himself into that high position, and the fact that there's many different aspects to him. He's gone from a wrestler to actually part of the crew, part of the management. So I can see an argument for him. I think Cena definitely eclipses him in the time period, though, which is why he definitely wouldn't make mine. I can't see an argument for Jericho personally. I just don't think that he's done enough to get one particular set of fans to say, oh yeah, Chris Jericho, best there is. I just don't think there's enough from him in that.
So I think he's doing that now, personally. He's had a 30-year career. And I think that's why I thought Jericho's up there for me, because I think in the 30 years, all the different characters he's had, all the different catchphrases he's had, everything he's done has got over one way or another. whether it be good or bad. And I think that what he's brought to the table and what he's provided for the industry, anything from that stupid list gimmick he had, which he managed to get over miraculously. I think it's just...
Has he changed wrestling? If he wasn't in, let's eliminate all of Chris Jericho from the timeline of wrestling. Would wrestling be any different? Has he changed it? Would fans be any different? And for me, it's a definite no.
I think he brought comedy to wrestling, personally.
It was always there, the comedy. I think what points you made there was the points why I would never consider him for this. It's like he has to keep changing himself to be relevant. The people that we've mentioned have pretty much had the same gimmicks and that sort of thing throughout their whole career, or at least what made them be considered the top guys. Like Austin was your Hellraiser, Hogan was the guy that, raised his hands and knees and paws and got himself over that way. Sammartino was always the babyface, the Italian who was conquering all the heels. And Cena, your perennial babyface, the 2000s. So these guys rarely changed how they were to stay relevant, other than the brief Hollywood Hogan period, which, is almost revered as on the same level as his babyface run.
But I think that you've got survival of the fittest, and there's the reason that he's been going for 30 years was that he kept chopping. Because the other option I was going to have wasn't Jericho, it was The Undertaker, which once again, relatively are on the same pattern, but he did change a couple of times to keep himself with the times, basically.
These Mount Rushmores are always going to be, what's the criteria, and you're going to have to narrow it down. If anyone wants to ask us another one of these, you're going to have to narrow it down. Who's the Mount Rushmore managers? Who's the Mount Rushmore of, longevity? You're certainly going to get The Undertaker and Chris Jericho on that one for, relevance for a long period of time. And so, yeah, you need to have a set criteria. Otherwise, you're going to end up all over the place.
Like me. But I mean, as I said, we're going with my heart, and that's the four that for me stick out as people that I enjoy watching and people that I look forward to them coming through that curtain. Whereas I don't think you get that nowadays. You don't look forward to Roman Reigns coming through the curtain as much as you did back then when Austin's glass shatter hits, or you get the Jericho, the ball that went through the tube.
So that's the Mount Rushmore of who you look forward to seeing. Completely different one as well.
Well, that's what wrestling's about. It's about who you look forward to seeing, isn't it? What matches you look forward to. Wrestling is a lot of promo, isn't it? So I think if you put those four in a fatal four-way match, I'd watch it. And Jericho would win. So yeah, as I say, it's completely opinion based. My one. If I'm going with my head, it's a completely different list for a completely different time.
We'll have to get that off you next time, maybe.
Well, no, it's very similar to yours, really.
Well, if you know it, do it quickly.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just Austin, Hogan, Cena, Warrior would be my four.
Warrior, controversial.
I know it is, but only because of being a child in the 90s, and obviously that stayed for, as you said, it's consistent. Warrior. Everyone knows the Warrior.
Fair enough.
Everyone does. Even my mum knew Warrior was, and she didn't even really watch it, or watch me for that matter. But yeah, I think that's the gist of it, isn't it? It's just it's sort of opinion based, which is what we like to aim around here. It's our opinions. Back in my day, wrestling was proper wrestling. Yeah, so I think that's the end of the episode, and end of our Mount Rushmore on there. So, yeah, any further points for the week, boys?
Nope.
No, I could probably talk all day about this Mount Rushmore debate, and I'm sure it's going to happen again on another Q&A. So
we could probably make it a segment, couldn't we? Mount Rushmore of blank.
Good point. That's something to consider.
Yeah, we'll discuss it. Final thing, boys, is the Rumble. Who's your spring it on you here? But who's your picks?
We've been there, done that already, but yeah.
I was going to say we've done that on a previous episode.
We have, but it's all changed in the last. It's changed in the last few weeks. I thought Bianca Belair originally was going to take it. Then it went to Alexa Bliss, and then back to Belair, and to Bayley, and all sorts.
Yeah, I'll stick with Brock and Bailey.
B&B.
Brock and Belair.
B&B. Yeah, I think it's going to be Alexa. It's going to win the women's one for start, and Brian. B&A.
Chance of Ripley, seeing as she's not appeared back in NXT.
Yeah, I think there's actually a good chance that there's always quite a few contenders in this one, so it should be an interesting watch on both ones. So it's always good when you question who it could be.
Unlike the 1991 Royal Rumble, which we discussed. But
Indeed.
Right. Lovely. Well, thanks for your time, boys. And yeah, we'll see you guys for the next one.
See you later.
Adios.
All the best.